Radio Dismute is now on Facebook. Find us at facebook.com/Radio Dismute.
Streaming the sounds of the 1920s, 1930s, around the world, 24 hours a day. This is Radio Dismute. RadioDismute.com. HappyMusicRadio.com.
Greetings, friends, Romans, countrymen. I am continuing with the Michael Swartz portrait. Baroque, Dutch Golden Age, Old Master. I found something out today I didn't know. That apparently, Art Galaxy Tech was telling me that there has been a new Vermeer accepted as one of his paintings. I'll be honest with you, I didn't know that, and I'm gonna have to look that up because not only is it great news, but it's amazing. Apparently, it is indeed happened. So I'm going to have to look that up because I had no idea. Which frankly surprises me because usually I guess, well, anyway, be that as it may. We are continuing with our good friend Michael Swartz. And I think I'm going to have to explain a little bit why this is such a difficult painting to translate into acrylic from oil. And like Vermeer, it's very, very difficult. And but I haven't explained why. So I'm going to try quickly to explain it to you. In oil, you're able to mix the colors and transition them from one to another very quickly and easy. Well, if you know how to do it, it isn't a problem. It's fairly quick and easy, but it isn't quick and easy in acrylic. The reason is because acrylic dries so fast that while you're transitioning in one place, it's dried in another. So you'd end up with like splotches, literally, of different tones and hues and etc., etc. Anyway, so what you need to do in acrylic is you have to put down color, figure out what color you're looking to get at the end prior to putting the glazing on. So you kind of have to make a really educated guess in order to get the toning in. And the toning is everything, obviously, in a portrait. And so if you want to get in these folds, you basically have to figure out what it's going to end up as first. So you're at the end. To get to the end, you got to go to the beginning first, and then you have to work your way through all the layers of glaze, hoping that you end up with the right amount of shadow in places. God, am I explaining this right? You have to do it first in order to get it to work at the last, as the last step, by putting successive layers of glaze on top of your first shadows, hoping that at the very end of the process, when it dries, the shadow is deep enough that it looks like a fold in the cloth. So you kind of have to guess first and then work it up. So now you make an educated guess, but it works, it's completely in reverse. And that's the complexity of it. And there's an upside to this. The upside is that you end up being able to glaze very quickly, unlike oil. I mean, you mix your color in oil, and then you have to let it dry, and then you can glaze. But you actually have the color. Therefore, when you glaze, you're simply adjusting the color minutely. In acrylic, you could be adjusting the color to the nth degree by virtue of the glazes you're putting down. So you have to make these educated guesses, and if you guess incorrectly, you basically have to kind of start all over again. So it's a very difficult prospect, and that's why it kind of takes so long in order to get these some of these colors in, because you're constantly having to do that. So as you see me work on the rosy cheeks here, you have to make sure you have the right color, but you have to kind of figure out ahead of time what the color is going to become by virtue of the glazes. I hope that makes sense. So it's always an educated guess, and if you guess incorrectly, you have to start over. There isn't much any other way to do it that I'm aware of, anyway. So that's why it takes such a length of time in order to get the right look in acrylic. I hope that explains it for you, because frankly, I don't know how else to explain it. The upside is you can change it 100 times faster than you could in oil. But if you don't know what the colors are and what they become by the glazing, you're SOL. Which is, you know what, out of luck. So that is le problème. And there's no way around it. So as you see me glaze and glaze and glaze, it's because I'm going for that color. Now you can add a little color into the glaze, but again, you're keeping your fingers crossed as to how that amount of color will change the original color you put down. So there's a degree of difficulty. And I'm not trying to say that you shouldn't try this. By all means, give it a shot. I mean, you don't have to start with something like this, but by the same token, you have to follow a procedure like that in order to get it where you want it. Because I'll be honest with you, I don't think there's any other way to do it. If there is, fire me over a message, okay? Because if there's an easier way, I'll follow it. But to get the subtlety of tones, and that's the other thing too. If you're doing something like an impressionist piece or something, you might not have as much trouble because the colors are less complicated in a sense. But if you're doing a guy like this, who's like an old master, Baroque master, there's no margin of error. There just isn't. It's either right or it's not. So it's that build-up of color continually bedevils you in a sense. And also the transition between colors. Voila. In oil you can soften these, whereas in acrylic you don't really soften them. You kind of let them blend through successive amounts of glaze as well. And I just wanted to explain that to you so you can understand the procedure if you wanted to give this a try. And the other side of the coin is, if you don't want to give it a try, that's okay too. Personally, I would suggest giving this a shot in colored pencil first. Then you can put successive layers of color down to get where you want to go. And that's my advice. But be that as it may, I'm going to have to put some more layers of transparent white down to get to the final chapter here. Now this is why it's so important to have transparent white, because transparent white, if you can see that, as opposed to titanium white, one is a mixing color and one is, in oil this would be called mixing white or lead white or even flake white. In acrylic you have transparent white and you have titanium white, so I think you have less choices, but you can get the same effect. Now if that's as clear as mud, I'm sorry, but if I can think of an easier way to explain it, I will. But as it stands right now, I can't think any other way to explain it, and I've been wrestling with it to give you an idea of what exactly is entailed. Because I'll be honest with you, you've heard me rail against Vermeer and whatnot, call him a SOB and whatnot. Yeah, well, that's just me going, damn. I have to figure out another way to get to the same colors, and also too the fact, the complexity of some of the colors they use. It runs the gambit. Now again, saying that, it doesn't necessarily run the gambit in oil. We just know what Vermeer's palette is from the chromograph. So that's not a question of that. It's how to mimic that with a different medium, which is acrylic. And that's why sometimes you hear me go, son of because they change tone. And for example, this tone on this side of the face is different from this tone on that side. Not a big deal if you're in oil. If you're in acrylic, yeah, it's a huge deal, because you have to glaze different intensities of glazes in order to get those colors. So what I guess I'm trying to tell you is this is like an advanced acrylic lesson, I guess you'd call it, in order to explain to you why it is what it is. And
there is double interest for you in your Chevrolet dealer's display of the new Chevrolet line for 1936.
but I think that's, I probably have confused, my guess is I may have confused everybody enough that I'll just let that go for now, because
Better looking, more economical, and sturdier than
it's
Come see for yourself and get conclusive proof of the rugged power and
it's lots of fun. I got to tell you that. I mean, the fun part is,
it's only one of the advantages that make these
for me, it's lots of fun. But one could be driven to a Van Gogh situation if you don't have to do it.
there are many new features too in cab and body improvement.
But
Get a thorough demonstration of the units that fit your transportation needs.
it's definitely a I mean, the strength of acrylics is the fact that the colors are good, but you have the ability to get your colors changed very quickly if you need it through glazing. Now, as you saw, if you saw the video a couple of days ago, which I like to call BFL, which simply means before the leaf's lost. You saw me put down like a layer of a cream color. And you also saw me put down the wrong measurement over here, which I still can't quite understand how that happened. On her headscarf. I don't know how that happened. I really don't. And, but it did. So I'm just doing one quick glaze on here, prior to going into, well, I'll do that in a second, I guess. I might as well get a few more coats on here while I got before my white dies on me. Da, 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 And these guys, to be honest with you, were masters of infinitesimal color changes. Absolute masters. And it makes for fabulous drawings, paintings. Now, also, I was looking through some pieces for the next piece, and I thought, you know what, maybe if talk about Caravaggio enough, I should just maybe go and do one. I decided not to do Caravaggio. And the simple reason is that the technique and oil he used to reproduce in acrylic faithfully is, I don't think it would really work out very well with his technique, which was chiaroscuro, which is the removal of color down to the canvas for lights and darks. I just don't think it would. So I've decided I'm not. I'm pretty sure I could knock it off, but I don't think it would be much fun watching it, because it would be me cursing and swearing and like banging my head against the wall, going, "Oh, you SOB," and considering that there's so many. I'm trying to decide, be honest with you, if I should do an in gray. And the problem with the in gray is that I don't know if I'm going to bounce up against the rules at Twitch for nudity. In gray did a piece with a woman sitting on the edge of her bath, and her back is to the viewer, so there's nothing to see, so to speak. No naughty bits, so to speak. So, and considering that an e-gun shield was just erected in, I think it was New York City or something, one of his erotic drawings, and put on the side of a building. I can't see why it would be a problem to do that, but again, they say no nudity, so does that mean that not even if you don't get to see any naughty bits? Because there's a lot of people doing stuff on here that doesn't leave much to the imagination, and would be considered nudity anywhere else. But I'm going to review it again, and I don't know what, because I really think an in gray would really cap off this type of painting, because you've got that kind of color that you can really show off the ability of mixing color, and he was enough of a colorist while he was in gray, for heaven's sake. I mean, like, so I don't know. I would like to do them, frankly. And there's nobody to ask except just do them, and then wait for I don't know. And it's a kind of a full body piece too, which is something that would be nice to do. And I'm thinking of it. I could probably do. I don't know. Anyway, I'll decide. One way or to other, I will make a decision. Because I'd also like to do like an Artemisia gentilisi.
Now we are gathered by the river. Listen to your deepest tune. Take some things, take on skin, take the brand Let's all go in that water. Let me hear your simple groan. Take some things, take on skin, dance around in your phone. We get you finished, cause this is your judgment day. Come and lead in the river with me. Wash your sins away. Throw away your gin and baby.
But an engrais would certainly cap off the whole gambit of this style of painting. But there's a few others as well. And the fact that, you know, people get to know, expand their art knowledge a little bit into Michael Swartz and the Dutch Renaissance artists. Which in my opinion are probably the finest masters of color that in the basically in the 1600s. They met their match again, and it took right up until the 1800s to meet their match. And that would have been topped off with the Bouguereau and Renoir, some of the early Renoirs. But then I thought, you know, what about Renoir? You know, like, I'm thinking about Renoir as well, because his early stuff is just unbelievable. And I'm thinking about it too. So yeah, I got a couple of things, and then also, be honest with you, I thought of maybe doing one in the late 15th century, and showing you the progression. And there's some very interesting pieces as well from that era. So I might do that as well. I don't know for sure, but so anyway, I'm looking. I promise you, I'm looking. And I want to pick correctly, because, you know, obviously there's a commitment here in terms of time and effort. So one of the things about Twitch is you can't abandon. Well, I guess you can. It doesn't matter. But the point is, if you pick something, you want to sort of see it through, right? Like, I don't think anybody be happy if all of a sudden I just threw up my hands and went, "That's it. I can't take it anymore." Sorry. One shouldn't make oneself laugh, but sometimes it's hard, I gotta tell you. It would be funny, though. I can't take it anymore. Enough. The headline: artist goes nuts on Twitch, throws up his hands and says, "I can't take it anymore." If you don't know where that line comes from, by the way, you owe it to yourself to watch a movie called Broadcast News. You really do. So, I'm going to go now and do a little bit of titanium white. Now, here's a little tricky for you. If you want a heavier duty glaze, you can always mix a little transparent white with some titanium white. Aha! Gives you a little bit different opacity to the paint. It gives you a third option. Now I'm going to get letters from the acrylic people saying, "Thanks for telling every secret we know." Okay. Well. Maybe it's a badge of honor being censored by the acrylic painters of North America. Now I'm putting in the titanium here because it's more of a opaque white, and I'm putting them in the high the high parts of the kerchief. So using the opaque now on top of I'm not using it heavy duty, but using it on top of the transparent white is giving me a much more reflective white. And I'm doing this along the edge here. Gives me a sharp, jeez. Da, da, da. I think this would qualify as meticulous painting. But, you know, you got to bear in mind that these guys did knock one of these off in 15 minutes. And Vermeer took months to do one. I don't know how long Schwartz would have taken it, but my guess is it was well, there was two options. He did it fairly quickly, or he worked on more than one at a time. And that's not unusual, by the way, if they worked on more than one at a time. They husbanded their time pretty carefully. And that's why they worked on multiple pieces. And they didn't, this would have been, but often they didn't necessarily paint everything in themselves. Yeah, there was the guys who painted. There were the hand painters and the background painters and all those guys. And a lot of these guys too, they had the separate task of mixing all their colors too. So you've got to hand it to them in terms of I mean, it wasn't for a little while yet that well, that's one of the reasons you had a school. I mean, if you did have students, they mixed your colors up for you. But these guys are not known to have had any school, or you can understand Vermeer. He had 13 children, so odds are he didn't have time to do anything like that. But it wasn't you know, the ultimate would have been Verrocchio or Titian back, but again, that was 100 years prior to this, really. These guys weren't quite as well off as those guys were. One of the reasons is that, you know, the Franco-Flemish War was waging, which Vermeer's wife claimed killed him. Not killed him in the war, but depressed the prices in art to the point where he was desperate. And led to his early demise because of worry and whatnot. Entirely possible. And understandable, because I can just the thought of Pierre Elliott Trudeau Jr. there, Justin, coming to my town would be enough to throw me apoplectic. And the sad part is I'm not even political, really. But I can observe, though, when I see somebody who's brain dead. Oh, come on. Memo to self. Do not put white side by side. Jesus. Second time I've done that.
When toil of day is through, I long to be with you. I want to hold you in my arms and say, Ich liebe dich, my dear. I dream of you each night, and with the morning light, I hold your memory for another day. Ich liebe dich, my dear. Do you recall that summer night of love, the moonlight shining on the vine, the scent of lilac and the stars above? I was yours, you were mine, and while we both grow old, our love will still.
Now the effect of all this, if you're looking for it, should be making the headscarf three-dimensional. And if it's not, then I have failed miserably.
Is a listener-supported service of early 1900s music preservation, a non-profit organization devoted to bringing the great forgotten music of the past to the attention of new and appreciative modern audiences. If you enjoy the music we present and value the work that we do, please consider giving us your support for whatever.
Should be able to see it by now.
Play for your own enjoyment. We'll also be passing on a priceless gift to all those who will discover this wonderful music for the first time.
Ah, third time I've done it. My God.
www.early1900s.org. That's early1900s.org.
Da, da, da. Should I go in for another hit over here? Da, 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 da. Da, da, da. Also, I wanted to point out to you why I'm using such a small brush. It's because of the minute color changes. I need a small brush in order just to get into little spots where the color just slightly, the tone changes a little bit. And it just isn't, I don't know any other way to do it except with a small brush. I'm sure there are people out there who can use a number 12 or something, but I can't. I need control, so I have to use a smaller brush. So in other words, I don't want to make too broad a stroke, because in a painting of this size, it's easy to lay down a swath of color that you regret. And considering the fix, I'd rather err on the side of caution. I'm using a little bit of an oil painter's trick here to put a little ridge of paint down so it catches the light even minutely. I'm gonna see if I can, we'll see here now if I can skip over here to get this. I want a little bit of a glaze on here with a little bit more white. And I want a glow down here. And in order to get that glow, I may have to we'll see. Does he really put a glow down here on the neck? This is what took so long on the girl with the red hat, was to get that, the intensity of the color right everywhere on the painting. Actually, that's coming okay, so we'll bring it around a little bit here. Okay. So you see, I drop into a little bit into the flow medium, and I pull out the edges that way. Then I go in with a drier brush, and I sop up a little bit of that flow medium, just like a watercolorist would do. And it gives me that. Hopefully it gives me exactly what I'm looking for. Dun, 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 dun. Now I go back into the transparent light, and I'll throw a little on here. As the intensity fades, it'll give me a like a see-through. Hopefully. Oh. I'm going to go back into the titanium. Put out just a smidgen of white here. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, dun, dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. So back in dangerous territory here, playing with the color. Oh, you bastard. I'd like to get all of these in before my eyes start to fade away. Making slight adjustments. Little adjustments. Ah, yes. I'm gonna have to go in and bring the eyes in closer to on the reference photo. Isn't that odd?
I know. Scandal of the so-and-so. You know, I know why people like to go to those places where the lights are low. I know what they do. I know why they so. There's a lot of things that you'd like to know. I know you like to hear me shout and yell. But here's my right hand.
You have to kind of pick and choose your battles too, and what I mean by that is that you got to remember what size of painting this is and whether it translates into something so small. Like I've just noticed the faintest color change there on the close-up here of this, and I don't think your eye would pick it up, so I'm not going to put it in. A bit bigger, yes, but not at this size. And he's got the absolute tiniest little bit of highlight in there. And also a spot of highlight in here. Just a spot, oh boy. Just a spot. Now that the eyeball is as big as a saucer, you just see a couple little spots where he highlighted. Alright. So I have two options. I can either glaze with titanium here, which is a more opaque white to get this section in here and bring it up, or I can go back in and change all the colors that I need to, and I'm opting for the little bit of a glaze of titanium. This is the hard part here, because what he did is it's seamless, like an oil painting would be. Oh, there it is. Okay. There it is. Let's see if that dries good though. That's the problem. Does the sucker dry? Also, you have to resist the temptation to press hard on the brush. Even though the bristles are small, you only use the bristles. You don't go after the... I don't know what it is. It's almost like a lot of people just tend to overpressure the brush. I think it's probably, you know, you're so used to using pencils and whatnot that you don't realize you're doing it, and until it's you realize you're scraping the bloody canvas. So. Now in the highlight in here, the subdued highlight, I'm brushing into the middle of it a slight amount of white. I'm going to bring this up one tone. Okay. Dropped in to see my friend today, the Ingo, the clockmaker, who is an actual clockmaker, believe it or not. He can make a clock from scratch. But what his made in his business is fixing clocks. And he's drowning in work. It's one of those professions that just isn't being filled anymore. And he's a nice guy. He's from Germany. And I've known him for a long time. When I left for Belize, I gave him a full-scale model of it. Not a full-scale, I'm sorry. I don't mean that. I gave him a... It would have been... Geez, I don't remember the scale now. Let's just say it was about 10 inches long model of a Panther tank. A German Panther tank. He was the happiest guy I have ever seen. And it was done. There wasn't a thing on the tank that wasn't done. It was everything. From the colors, everything was done to perfection. And He loves it. Which is good, because when I went to Belize, I thought I want to give it to somebody who really, really will appreciate this. And he did. It was painted to perfection. You know, to build models like that, it takes as much time as it does to build a ship model. It's just, you just have to, not as complicated as a ship model, but you can't take any shortcuts. Oh, it's getting a nice glow to it now. I hope you can see that glow, because it's really starting to pop. Da, 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 da. Da, da. Oh no. Like I said, rule number 1, don't put your titanium white beside your da, 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 da. Da, 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 do, 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 do. Da, da, da. Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da. God, she was a pretty little thing. Okay, I'm gonna pull away again, pull out of the close-up, and I'm going to get a close-up of this section here. Well, what else is new? Okay. Yep. Into it now. Dun, 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 dun. Now, I'm assuming he used Azure. I don't think he used any ultramarine on this, but I think he used some Azure. So I'm going to... Well, the first thing I'm going to do is get some mixing white here and put some flesh tone out. And I'm going to put the smallest little bit of... Yeah, that's what I thought would happen. So I've got the smallest little bit of titanium in it. Or not titanium, mixing white. And what I'm going to have to do now is go through here. Get these tones in. You have it with me. My own. Da, 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 da. You have it with me. Oh, have it with me. Da, 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 da. Hey. Charms, be a happy with me.
I used to think your love was something that I would take or leave alone. But now I couldn't do without my supply. I need you for my own. Oh, I can't break away. I must have you every day, as regularly as coffee or tea. You've got me in your clutches and I can't get free. You're getting to be a
habit with me. Habit with me. So I'm kind of reversing the flow here. I'm getting the skin tone in, and I'm laying it on top of the some of the white that I put down, because I want to give a more realistic look here. And the only way I'm going to do it is to do it this way. There's just too much light in there. And I have to go back up in here. Not dark enough. I'm going to put down some of the azure. And let it dry into the shadows here. and then I'm going to layer a few glazes of skin tone on top of it to get it, just as it moves up into shadow.
You don't know that, you're hopeless. 'Cause you know I know everything's made for love, just love.
What is the backstairs for?
Oh, you want to know that too?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know and I know everything's made for love.
And what is the dark for? And what is the park for? And why are shady lanes?
Oh, I suppose now you'll ask me why a cozy corner is so rosy every time it rains.
Tell me, what have I got you for?
What have you got me for?
Yes, what are we both thinking of?
Oh, I know.
You know.
Everything's made for love.
And just a tad.
That looks awfully small.
Well, you know what they call it?
No, why?
Why, it's a love thief.
Why do they call it a love?
Well,
I think instead of paint, I'm going to use just a little bit of phthalo green or phthalo blue.
suppose it was so dark.
Just the smallest amount in here
But love found a way, all right.
Tell me, was it messed by?
instead of the panes.
But who cares about time? It's the boy.
So I think it'll. The reason I'm doing this, I think when I glaze on top of it, I'll get a better color.
Oh, what we have stars above. You know and I know everything's made for love. Sweet love. What is your eyes for?
And I can always go back into the
You know and I know everything's made.
glaze some panes on top of it to darken it down.
What do men save for and what do men play for? Until Cupid calls.
And why do they go?
Because I really think this is how he did it.
Oh, well, is it the night?
He didn't have this color, but this is how he did it.
No.
No, you know.
I guess he
L-O-V.
used the azure and darkened it down with a little bit of red. And in a sense, that's what I'm doing, because that's the flesh tone I'll put on top of it. So I'm just going around, I'm just going about it in a different direction than he did, based on the colors available to me as opposed to him. And if I guess right, it'll give me a perfect. And if I guess wrong, I gotta cover it up. So there's not a lot of latitude, I gotta tell you. And I gotta. Like I know he had some green out because he's got green in this. So he had some of the reds in the. He had his reds out, and he also had his blues and yellow. But he would have used ochre, so the green is a bit dull. Which he moved into this with, the doublet, whatever you call it, the dress, I don't know. And then he went right up tight against here. I'm gonna get this in with a little bit of phthalo. One of Bob's favorite colors. And one might ask, why was he so low? Why was he so in love with phthalo colors? It's because when he put it on the linseed oil, they'd break. and you get intense color. And it kind of shortcutted the whole process. The trouble is, have you ever seen one in real life? One of those paintings from the TV? They don't look that good. If he sat and really worked on it, like the one I saw, actually no, it was one or two. He had, like, when I saw him at the show back in '96, wherever it was, 95, 96. I mean, he could paint, but he those weren't ones he did on TV. I mean, you know, so it was a bit of it was a tiny bit of a con, right? I mean, that's not what he was showing on the TV, so it really wasn't a representational of what he did. So strong. Oh my God. Just about kill you. Man.
Now our miniature drama takes us to a business office. The characters are Maisie, a stenographer, and Willie, the office boy. Listen.
Willie, will you?
No, I won't.
Oh, but Willie, you don't know what I want.
Oh, I do too. A sandwich and a bottle of knee-high orange.
Well, you don't have to be mean.
Well, why don't you get out and get your own food? I got work to do.
Work?
Sure, I'm very busy.
With what?
It's a secret.
Oh, go on, Willie, tell me.
Nope.
Please.
Oh, all right. I'm working on the knee-high $6,000 contest.
Knee-high $6,000 contest?
Yeah, the knee-high $600,000 contest.
Four prizes of $1,000 each and 164 cash prizes in all.
Say, how do you get it?
Oh my God, that much?
You have to do is go to your favorite place where soft drinks are sold and ask for a copy of the knee-high $6,000 contest folder. Or you can write to your nearest knee-high butler. Hey, where are you going?
To get my entry folder. What do you think?
I think it's the first time you ever ran an errand for yourself in all your life. And that may be so. But this time, Maisie is running an errand that's well worth running. Get your entry folder for the knee-high $6,000 contest today.
Hope everybody marked down the address. You know, Arc Galaxy Tech was over today, and he's working on a bird, and oh man, is it coming out good. I think it's a kingfisher. I'm not sure though. But oh man, oh man, is it good. Okay, I think I played enough up there for now. Now we'll see. Like I was saying earlier when I first started, will it work? Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da. Da, da, da. Da.
I'll take no use for the things you say when I put on the long white coat. All I can take nothing to my grave. Ain't be one know I'm rich and poor when I put on the long white coat. And I ain't one for the work no more when I put on the long white coat. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Now, remember I told you about the glazing of the white? The transparent white? Well, you're seeing it in action here. This little micro part of the painting. And yes, I did put phthalo blue in there. Green shade, mind you. Phthalo blue green shades. Not phthalo blue. Phthalo blue green shade. So not quite. I don't think Bob ever used those. He just used straight phthalo. And the reason I wanted a bit of a green shade, because when I gray it down, it gives me that flesh tone. That's why. Because remember, the underside is painted in grisaille. That gives it to me. So yes, folks, it's all about planning.
You are listening to Radio Dismute.
What color will do the best job at what point in time of the painting? And this now needs to go up here, which will be a... You would dry on me, wouldn't you, son of a gun? Okay. When you get the smallest little bit of color, that I just want a slight bit of flesh tone in there. Okay, so we'll see how that goes. And that now makes that white where the light's actually hitting her. Oh, Jesus. I see that. Okay. Never mind. I gotta get up in here now. I didn't notice that when it was pulled out. So now I gotta fix that. One of the... See, when I used to do these without the reference, like this, you wouldn't pick that up, but you pick it up because of these high resolution photos, reference photos of these paintings. You can really, if you know how, you can really pick apart the color. You really can. It's while I'm at it, I should actually look at this too. You did do that, you son of a... Okay. Like I said, high resolution photographs will do it every time. Okay, here's a compound color I gotta mix up. Da, da, da. And I know he had these colors, so. Oh, he didn't. Da, da, da. Yep, there she be. Getting some refracted light here on it, so I don't want to make sure it's right. Okay. Da, 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 da.
Everybody has trouble, care and worry too. Some lay down and woken up, some go smiling through. Hope is never gone. The love we have for each other keeps us marching on. We're a couple of soldiers.
Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da. Da, da, da. Da, 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 da. He darkened his umbers a little bit, or darkened his toning a little bit with umber. So I'm going to see if I can get that in there. Da, da, da. Da, 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 da.
There's nobody like you. You find such pleasure in doing what you do. On changing music and
Da, da, da. Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da. Da, da, da. Da, 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 da. Da, da, da.
these two happy feet will beat down the aisle. My dancing lady to you. When I look at you in admiration, wondering where I got the luck, landing someone quite so grand, when so many folks get stuck. Your supply of everything that's needed just meets my demand. Pardon if I
Dun, 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 dun. Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da. Jesus. Da, 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 da. Dun, dun, dun. Da. Da, da. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, dun. Dun, dun. Da, 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 da. Da, da, da. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, dun. Dun, dun, dun. Dun, dun, dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, dun, dun.
Radio Dismuke is a listener-supported service of early 1900s music preservation, a non-profit organization devoted to bringing the great forgotten music of the past to the attention of new and appreciative modern audiences. If you enjoy the music we present and value the work that we do, please consider giving us your support to whatever degree you're able. Your contribution will not only ensure that the music continues to play for your own enjoyment, you will also be passing on a priceless gift to all those who will discover this wonderful music for the first time as a result of our efforts.
More information.
Da, 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 da,
Now it's time to leave. Love has opened my eyes. Simple things beginning to me with a sweetheart surprise. I never knew how good it was to be a slave to one who means the world to me. I love that man from the start, and I know he loves me. And when he tells me he can't live without me, what would he's not an angel or saint, and once he with all his faults, I know he'll get by. I'll be so true to him, he'll never doubt me. What would I do for that man? For when he let me lean my weary head on his shoulder, I'm I'll make it I love that man, nobody. I'm just no good when his arms are around me. What would I do for that man? Oh, what would I do for that
man? Da, 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 da. Da, da, da. Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da. Da, da, da. Man.
What would I do for that man? Oh, there's not a thing I wouldn't
The man. I'm coming back over here though, not with titanium, but with transparent white. Because I want you to see the skin tone underneath it. And the only way I do that is with transparent white. There ain't no other way. Da 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 da. Oh my God. I can't believe 2 hours ago. Jesus. It's unbelievable. Time flies. Tempest fugit. So this little technique I'm using here is to model the skin tone. And what I mean by that is simply that it'll give, you can see through the white in places, not solid. So it's not like titanium where you're just painting it white. You're looking through the color, and then you can see, as you can see, like I'm getting a bit of a glow now to the color, and that's because you can see through it. for those who want to know how to do this stuff, well, that's how you do it. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Same reason I'm using over here. I want to make sure that the linen yellow comes through. But you can still see the shadow. Dun, 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 dun. Now, because he's an oil painter, you don't see a you should see a transition here, and you don't in acrylic. But I'm going to do it. There we go. Transition. There we go. Now we transition the color through. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Well, as much as I hate to say it, I'm gonna have to use a little bit of Hooker's green. Should I use? Nah, he wouldn't use Hooker's. He would use chromium oxide. So I'll put a little chromium oxide in it. More natural green. It's almost sad because you. What I'll do is I'll just do them like that. For this lace. Now obviously I gotta go back in and change that color farther up into the shadow, but that's okay. That's okay. Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da. Now he really used some green up in here, so I'm gonna. When he went into the shadow, he really. And my guess is it's because he was doing the. He wanted some reflective color on it from the doublet or whatever she's wearing. I don't know what you'd call it. Blouse, shirt, I don't know. Whatever the hell it is. Doesn't really matter. Da, 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 da. Da, 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 Da da da. Da 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 da. Da da. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Da da da. Da da da. Da da da. Da 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 da. Da da da. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Now, in no way, shape, or form is that by any means the color, because what he's done is he's gone way into here, and I gotta fix that too. The reflective color from her face is hitting this entire side over here. And that sort of fades away. If I get just the right amount on. Now he put a little bit more red in that, and so I will just put a tad more in. Like too much already. Like they weren't afraid to use like little bits of red in places because it showed healthy skin, you know? And that's why all the babies, for instance, in if you look at a Raphael or something, are all so fat and healthy looking. It's because they wanted healthy looking children. God forbid they use what was actually out there, you know, like that wouldn't have been kosher. It was more like the ideal, right? So that's what they did. Different times. You think about how many children died, you know, like, God. It must have been horrendous. But I guess they were used to it. If you can get used to that, I don't know. I'm sure they had no different feeling than anybody else today about children. And if you get used to it, good for you. So what I'm gonna get the Payne's Gray in the background here, and I'm gonna pull out now from the well, I think what I'll do get this green in. Da, 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 da. Because then I have to glaze it all anyway, so I'll get the green in now. Da, 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 da. I'm going to use a different green for the blouse. So I'm gonna God, he went up high with this. Now sometimes backgrounds are predicated on how much paint he mixed up. Like there were different backgrounds, and they'd use something that worked. I don't mean to say they just made it up. They knew what they were doing, but if the background might be predicated about how much paint they mixed up.
Who cares? Who cares? If your heart is breaking, there isn't any soul in all the world. Who cares?
I can't see with it. Oh, it's up to about here. Okay. Big bad wolf, the big bad wolf, big bad wolf. He's old.
With the hey tube, he blew all his flute, and he played around all day, and he played around all day. Number 2 was fond of jigs, and so he built his house on twigs.
How diddle diddle, the cat's in the fiddle, the cow jumped over the moon, sit down.
How diddle he played on the fiddle
And that's with Lady B. Number 3 said mix on bricks, I will build my house with bricks. And he had no chance to sing and dance, cause work can't play.
There's the hookers. titanium. Halo. More titanium. Per number. There's black. You're afraid of the big bad wolf. Okay, all points bulletin. Where's my hell's my pain spray? Okay, where'd you go? Ah, of course it would be the last one I looked at, right? Is there any other way?
Somebody's been in my house and messed it all up. Somebody's been in my house and messed it all up. Somebody's been in my house and here he is. Woo! 1 or 2 were there today. Out the big bad wolf big bread. By the hair of your chinny chin I'll blow you in. And the sweet house answered yes. And the sweet house answered yes. No one left but number 3 to save the piglet family. When they knocked, he passed unlocked and said, come in with me. Now they all were safe inside, and the victors will be fried. So he slid down the chimney, and oh by Jimmy, by the fire he was fried. Ha ha ha, the 3 little pigs rejoiced and laughed. Ha ha, who's afraid of the big bad wolf? Big bad wolf, big bad wolf. Who's afraid of the big bad wolf? La 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 la.
Radio Dismute is now on Facebook. Find us at facebook.com/radiodismute. Streaming the sounds of the 1920s and 1930s around the world 24 hours a day. This is Radio Dismute. RadioDismute.com. HappyMusicRadio.com.
dun, 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 dun.
That there's a rhythm in your heart and soul, a certain rhythm that you can't control, and you will lose it confidence.
Dun, dun, dun. Dun, dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, dun, dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Da, 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 da. Da, da, da.
I played around with many girls, but never fell for any girl. But where have you been all my life? I feel my wings are scrappy now. I can't refrain from shouting now.
Da.
I was going strong and came along like a vision of bliss. Then I blinked my Got a rabbit foot in my pocket, got a rusty horseshoe too. Got a little elf sitting on my shelf, still no luck with you. Got a good luck ring on my finger, got a penny that's brand new. Got a voodoo charm hanging on my arm, still no luck with you. I throw salt over my shoulder, hoping I'll get a break. Never let a black cat cross my path, even sleep upon a piece of wedding cake. Got a hunch the jinx has got me, gee, I don't know what to do. Now you can't deny, I sure do try, still no luck with you.
So what I'm basically doing here is glazing over the green with Payne's. And this is okay because remember, Payne's gray is blue and burnt sienna, so we've got earth tones and cool. So you're not going to get any discordant colors here. And if I do this just right, when I glaze it to get the brighter color greens, then what'll happen is that or not the brighter color greens, but the greens that are under the glaze with white on top of them. Glaze white over the green. Jesus, okay. Anyway, so when I get to that, should it should work okay. Well, it will, one way or the other, but I just want to brush it almost dry, so it's, which is one nice thing you can do with acrylic. You can kind of brush it till it really starts to tack up. I'm kind of doing a mixture of the green and panes here to transition it into one color to the next. And hopefully that will work.
Now, folks, there's some more good entertainment waiting for you. Free for the asking.
So
I know you'll enjoy clever comics and say your kiddies will jump for joy when you bring it home. All you need to do is to drive into the nearest Gulf service station tonight or tomorrow and ask for your copy of this great little paper. But don't delay because they may be all gone. Notice
a bit better. There we go.
Gulf's handy household aids for spring cleaning. Gulf
So there she is.
electric motor oil, Gulf Clean liquid gloss for furniture, Gulf auto cleaner, and Gulf auto wax. Get them from the Gulf service.
Just checking for focus. Anyway, folks, it's been a slice. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I did. Whoever you are. But good night.